welcome back. You're watching this special telecast come to you from one location, the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos. You just heard Uday Kotak say he expects the investment cycle in India to take at least 12 to 18 months to come back. Well, let's talk to a business leader who puts his money to work to get that investment cycle kick-started, Prashant Ruia of the Essar Group. Prashant, thanks very much for your time. And thank you for doing one interview in 3 years, or two. I think the last one was here in Davos. You agree with Mr. Kotak that the investment cycle will take 12 to 18 months, or do you hold a more optimistic view based on the little bit of government action that we've seen in the last 6 to 8 months?
So I think you look at it in two parts. The investment cycle in the last 2 years, in my opinion, one of the critical factors for it to move forward was the existing pipeline projects which were stuck in various forms.
Right.
And I believe what has happened in the last 1 or 2 quarters is that because of all the action which the government has taken, a lot of these pipeline projects are now moving ahead. And I can speak directly for
Please
ourselves.
Please give us illustration so that we can believe what you're saying.
From an SR perspective, I mean, most of the projects which we have kicked off 3-4 years ago have got all the regulatory approvals. For instance, our refinery is up and running. It's a 400,000 barrel a day refinery.
But that's been the case for a long time now.
No, the expansion, we had a lot of regulatory approvals. For example, on the power generation side, we've had our coal linkages come through.
That continues to be a sticky issue? No, broadly speaking, for the industry, if not for you?
No, I believe that significant steps have been taken by the government to make sure that sufficient coal will be available, at least for the projects which are already along the way.
So you anticipated hitting what, about 6,500, 700 megawatts by 2014. Are you on course for that?
So our total power portfolio is 7,000 megawatts, of which we are currently at about 5,000 already.
Okay.
And the balance will be there by March 14. Is our target. So we're pretty much on
okay, schedule. So that takes care of power, that takes care of oil.
And then things like ports, you know, we're also India's second largest port company. A lot of the regulatory approvals which are holding up our ports have come through. So the point I was making was certainly the pipeline projects, and there were big investments which Indian industry had committed, are very much on their way.
Okay.
I would agree with Uday with regard to new greenfield investments.
Okay.
And I think those will still take probably the 12 to 18 months time which he was talking about for new greenfield investments to get committed. But there is still a lot of pipeline projects which need to be completed before we start talking of, you know, new greenfield projects. So I think they're moving in the right direction.
Okay. So, you know, does that mean that the confidence which was so sorely lacking amongst Indian business leaders over the course of the last year or two is slowly returning when it comes to putting new money into new ventures? That is coming back?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. Confidence is coming back. It's a slow process. We've been through
very tough times.
2 years where you know things were moving a little bit slowly, but certainly the steps which the government has taken is beginning to show positive impact on industry in various sectors.
But Prashant, honestly speaking, is that reflecting in the mood or the attitude that foreign strategic investors have towards India? Portfolio investors, we've already seen the kind of inflows that we have.
You've seen huge inflows coming into the capital markets.
But strategic investors, at least here, the people I talk to, India 2009, 2010 was the toast of Davos.
Absolutely.
The last 2 years, everybody is silent on India. You say India, people don't even respond.
I would agree, but you know they've seen negative media in the international press, right?
Why don't you see they've seen negative government action? Why media?
No, they've seen negative stories about India, and of course, obviously because of a reason, and they will want to see some more steps before they start putting their money to work in India.
Okay.
But are they interested? I think they're still very much interested. We will be the second or third largest market in most of the domestic market, consumption market, in all the sectors, and sooner or later, you know, if they want to be a global player, I think they have to be in India.
We can't talk about India in isolation. We've got to talk about the backdrop of the global economy. I think the prevalent view here is that this might be the year of stabilization, not one of recovery. Is that what you're picking up as well? And how much of that impacts your decision to continue investing in several businesses here in India? Because let's not forget, it's the liquidity flow, it's the general confidence that helps you continue with your expansion plans.
So globally, consumption is looking a lot more stable. The big issues, Europe is looking a lot better. I think you'll hear a lot about how Europe is got over its worst.
Those choppers are for Mario Monti, Angela Merkel, and tomorrow Mario Draghi. So
they're all here, and I'm sure you'll hear that that Europe is over its worst, and they are on a road to recovery. Maybe slow, but at least in the positive direction.
UK, because you have businesses there as well, right? Refining operations.
Absolutely. And then the US is looking a lot better. They're seeing growth.
Really, you think so, despite their political impasse?
Absolutely. I think US has the ability to surprise a lot of people. And we're seeing it. We have quite a lot of investments in the US. And then thirdly, capital markets are a lot better. Liquidity in the markets are a lot better.
Right.
And, those three are key parts of the mood internationally. And if you see commodity prices, they're pretty strong across the board. Whether it's oil, whether it's coal, it's getting a lot better. So I think the overall global environment is, I would say, certainly a stable year, current year, and then hopefully better in the next.
So what's your view on commodity prices? Because I was speaking to a well-known Chinese economist, Dr. Fan Gang, and he said he expected China to do between 8 and 8.5% this year. In that backdrop, commodities can only move up?
Absolutely. I mean, they announced 7.9, I think, just last week, GDP growth. Everybody was saying they'll go to 7.5. They've surprised everybody on the upside.
Yeah.
And, India's talking between 6 and 7%. So those are the two big economies. US is looking better. So, all of this means more consumption and big investment into commodity, natural commodity has not happened in the last 2-3 years.
Right.
And so the supply side will take some time to catch up. And we are already seeing the results of a stronger commodity pricing.
All right. So you emblemized for me the PwC poll results, which said that Indian CEOs are amongst the most optimistic of all CEOs across the world, because you're sounding decidedly more hopeful than you were, let's say, a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we are the only positive CEOs around. I don't agree with that statement. I think if you talk to anybody from the Middle East, they're extremely positive.
Okay.
If you talk to anybody from Africa, they're extremely positive. If you talk to anybody in Asia, whether it is Indonesia,
that's true.
Vietnam,
Indonesia is looking better and better.
All of these countries, they're all looking extremely good. And frankly, if you talk to anybody in China, they're quite positive.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's emerging markets in Asia. Brazil is doing better. Russia is the toast of Davos this year.
Absolutely.
Okay. I know that it's not appropriate or ideal to talk about lots of domestic issues while we're here in Davos discussing global or international. But since you grant us only one interview every 2 years, I'm going to do quick rapid fire questions.
Okay,
which if I don't, my new team back in India will kill me. Okay. So the first one is, you were in the process of a CDR exit for Essar Oil. Where is that reached, and how does that move?
I think that's done, and it's we are in the final stage of exiting. So I think
you were also looking to restructure debt as part of that, or accompanying that?
No, we are not actually restructuring any debt.
Okay.
Basically, we have a dollarized business. The refining market is a completely dollar-denominated business.
Right.
Most of our debt was in rupee because it was project finance, and now that the project is over and we are operating at capacity, we are actually de-risking by bringing our currency in line with our debt in line with our currency, which is in dollars.
Hey, we didn't talk about currencies. Do you have a view on how the dollar and the euro are going to do this year, given that those are the two currencies you're probably transacting in?
I think the safe answer is dollar will always be strong.
All right. Okay, back to rapid fire then. I think there's a perception that you might need to dilute promoter stake in Essar Oil, given the minimum or maximum promoter holding deadline that's coming up this year in June.
No, I think we meet the norms.
Because of
GDRs? Our domestic shareholding is 65%, which is within the norm. So there is no immediate need to dilute in Essar Oil.
I want a comment from you on your IT and BPO business. You just made a major acquisition there. Give me a sense of outlook. You were at one point intending to take Aegis public, but now you don't need to since you bought AGC.
No.
How is it going to work?
See, the way we look at it is, first of all, we think it's an extremely strong business, which is doing extremely strong. We are running at a run rate of about $1.2 billion in terms of revenue, and we currently have about 55,000 people all over the world, and that's one sector which has not been so badly impacted in the last 2 years. So we've actually seen growth in that business.
Despite lower cost countries coming up, like Philippines, etc.
So our model is we will go to the countries where
so fine, all right.
So we have the largest number of people in Philippines.
Right.
I mean, we have
cool.
12,000 people in Philippines. So we go to where the
costs
cost
work
center
out.
is.
Right,
absolutely.
okay.
And I can tell you that our costs in India are very quickly becoming not competitive.
Right, absolutely.
As compared to some of these new emerging countries. So I mean, and then there's been a lot of talk about whether we do an IPO or whether we bring in a strategic partner, etc. on Aegis. But basically, our view is we are open. We've got all options on the table, and
so nothing in the near term in terms of a public listing or anything
in
like
the next sort of year, we'll see what is the best thing for us to do, and we'll do it.
Okay. Next question. Officials of the Essar Group are charge sheeted in the 2G trial. Where is the process at, and how do you see that work out over the course of the next few months?
Well, I've always said this is something very unfortunate which has happened, and we've always maintained that we are completely above board on this, but we are going through a process right now which is sub judice, and we'll have to wait and see for the process to get completed before we can. So
you promised to do a more detailed interview on this later on back in India. Then I won't ask you more questions about this here.
More than happy to talk about it at probably the right time.
We have you on record, so you can't get out of it anymore. Last question: what are you looking forward to here in Davos? There are some interesting speakers today, tomorrow. We have Merkel, Monti, and Draghi.
And we just heard Medvedev.
Okay, I missed that. I was out working hard. Yeah.
So basically, Russia, as you mentioned, is a very big focus here.
Yes, it is.
This year, and Europe is a very big focus. So a lot to hear about how these leaders look at for Europe, because I think that's a big player in the current year. And also the largest contingent is actually from the US.
Yeah.
So
but that's always the case.
So and it's good to hear their views on what's happening in the US economy. And I think everybody is hoping that we'll have a better time this year compared to the last 2 years. So it's good to see what the mood is like.
Right.
Today is our first day, so for me, so it's so it's a bit earlier.
So we need to come back and talk to you on Friday or Saturday. All right.
We'll do it in Bombay.
On that optimistic note, thanks so much, Prashant, for your time. Thanks very much.
Bye.
With that, it's a wrap on this special coming to you from Davos. But we will come back to you with more interviews through the course of this year.